Right. Hey, you guys, it is Justice, and I'm here to talk about all things Phoenix. It premieres on Friday, November 12th at 12 a.m. And I just wanted to have a conversation about some things that might be sensitive or conversation starters in your home when you begin to watch the film. I was going to title this as Just Us, but Just Us is very candid. And I would like for this conversation to be very serious because it might hit home for a lot of people. So I ran across Roderick's post on Facebook and Instagram about how he recently wrote a book called Friends with the Monster, right? Correct?
Right.
Okay. And I just reached out to him and we got on the phone. We had this great conversation and it just confirmed that I definitely wanted to have him as the person that I interviewed when it came to all things mental health. And I think this is our second time talking.
Yeah.
Literally. Yes, but it's going good. Like, I love your energy. So can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Roderick Byers, and just like she said, we met on just from following each other on Instagram. But what got her attention is my book that I'm getting ready to release. Like she said, it's called Friends with the Monster. It's not really, so it's very interesting because people will think that it's a children's book, but the cool thing about it is that it's really something that I wrote that would speak to the kid in me. I wrote it in 2020 after I suffered from, a lot of loss, as we were all impacted, from COVID and things like that. And so one of the things that I wanted to deal with and address, because, being locked up, I had to deal with myself. And so one of those things was the kid in me. And in healing that person, I wanted to write a book that would also help others heal with the inner kid in them, and, be able to deal with childhood traumas and things like that. So I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about the book in a second, but so that's pretty much what I do. I love serving people. I really love to, speak positivity. And it's, for a lot of people is like a job or a career, but this is my everyday life. Like, I love serving others. So that's me.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I listened to Darius Daniels, a pastor, a lot, and he says that our like purpose doesn't change, but like the role can. So like serving people can look different in every season of our life. So I definitely agree. But can you give us like a synopsis on your book, like a little minute rundown?
Yeah, I can. I also want to say thank you for having me. I was kind of rude. I didn't say that. But I appreciate you. I appreciate the platform. I appreciate the platform and what you're doing. And, what I'm saying? I really love it. So thank you for having me. But, the book is so that monster is referring to that voice that we hear, that voice that tells us that we're not enough, or that voice that makes us think about our insecurities. And, I was very intentional with some of the things that I put inside of it. Like, for instance, I wrote it's my story and, me overcoming fear, but I wrote it from the perspective of a little girl. And one of the things that I put in it is that monster's voice sounds just like her voice, and so that's one of the things that I struggled with growing up, and I still struggle with today, just fighting that voice that, it sounds just like me, so that's really what it touches on, and it gives a secret to how to deal with that and overcome that. And it helps, the reader understand their power and be able to take control of that, and then, create more positivity and just, I guess that's how I would sum it up.
Yeah. What does that voice sound like to you? Or like, what does that voice constantly say? Because I can think about, like, I'm just now getting to the point where I'm able to like push past like a negative voice or something telling me that I can't do it or anything like that. So like, what's your monster, or what would be that voice in your head that you had to like overcome?
So, the interesting thing about it is like, I believe that it attacks us in the areas of our greatest strengths. And so, in the areas that I'm really great at, like with encouraging other people, with, what I'm saying, speaking life into other people, that monster attacks me to where I can't do it to myself. Like I look in the mirror and I'm unable to say anything, and it's interesting because I think I project, it's a gift that I have, but I also project what I need on other people. So, I do it, and subconsciously is what I want back. But because
I think
people,
we all do that.
yeah, we really do.
Yeah.
Because people see it as like a strength, so they feel that I don't need the same thing, and they think that you're just, that I'm just so great at it. But it's like, no, like when this mask comes off, and I'm not saying like I'm not this person, but like when I get alone, like I shrink too. But I think it's just the fact that I just keep going. Like I've learned to press through it, and I've gotten closer to God. And so I understand his voice, and that voice overrides any other voice, even my own. And so when I learned to trust his voice, then I was able to, continue to make progress and press forward.
Yeah. I feel like you said like a mouthful. Definitely knowing God's voice. And I think a lot of people don't know what it sounds like, but I feel like that's totally normal. Like at first.
Right.
But I can definitely just relate with you because before becoming a teacher, I literally thought I could not explain stuff. Like I was terrified. I didn't think I could do it. Like that's why I didn't major in it in college. It's always been like this little part of me that wanted to do it. But I threw out every excuse. They don't make a lot. They got to do too much. And like here I am, you know? So I can definitely relate or whatever. And I like that you brought up God. So can you like speak on your spirituality? Like I know you said you wrote the book because just based on yourself and being inspired.
Mm-hmm.
And I can relate to that with other things as well. But just before we get deeper into mental health, can you speak on your spirituality?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, man, like that's so broad, but and I want to say so much, but that's my entire foundation. Like, my relationship with God and just being available and being in position. That means more to me than
Hello.
anything. Like, what I'm saying? So I mean, it's I don't know how deep you want me to get into it, but like everything, like literally everything that I'm doing, everything that I speak, everything that I have my hands in is from God. Like, I'm within my purpose of what he wants me to do and what I've been called to do. So I mean, like literally every good thing has come from him. And so that's really my foundation. And it's really what has gotten me through, because I've been through a lot in life, and man, I can't imagine where I'd be without him.
Yeah. No, I feel you 100%. Like, and it takes a lot of growth to get to that point because I haven't always been where I am now, like with my relationship with God. But once like me becoming a teacher, people would think like, oh, you went to school, that are like, it was so hard. I went through like the most trying time in just becoming a teacher. So after I like got through something, then I was able to see like, oh, well, he can push through for me at any time. So that's, I think, kind of where you are too. Like when he does something for you in the past or whatever, and you can like think and be grateful for it right now, then it's like, well, I don't want to do anything without you. Literally, I don't want to. I don't want to. No decision. Look, should I wear this dress on a date or another one?
Right. I mean, like he could literally do nothing else for me, and I would still owe him everything. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
It's just, man, like I can't even express it or put it into words. Just how important that is for me. And I'm gonna be honest, like I hadn't always been happy with God. Like I've questioned some of the things that he's done. You know what I'm saying? And I've even gotten in my own way. And it's like, I was just telling somebody this the other day. I was like, my parents were very protective over me, not in the sense of not allowing me to do things, but wanted to teach me about life, wanted to teach me about God. And, they could save me from everything. Like they could try to save me from, violence in the street. They could try to save me from, getting into certain things, from certain things happening to me. But one thing they couldn't save me from was myself. And that's what God saved me from. He delivered me from me. And like, man, like don't nobody know me for real, but I know me for real. You know what I'm saying? Like I know how bad I was,
Yeah.
broken I was, and just how down I was. And for him to, you know what I'm saying, and for me to not even be worthy, but him to still like love me and save me, like, I mean, that's just, like I said, I can't even put it into words.
Yeah. So I know you said, so like, okay, wait, let me ask you this though. How long did
Okay.
you fester on writing this book? Was this kind of like a spur of the moment, let me do it? Or were you like thinking about this and plotting on it for some time before you made a move?
You know what's interesting is um I've always loved to write. Like growing up, my poems and stuff would always be selected. I've always known that I had a gift to write and tell stories. And so it kind of just came full circle when I began to listen to my trauma. And in my trauma, you know, it began to tell me a story that I needed to hear. And so within that, you know, I allowed my trauma to tell me the story, but then I also gave it to God and allowed him to heal me in those areas. And so from that, you know, it brought me back into writing and that new form of expression. And I just went for it. Like I wrote that book in probably maybe like 20 minutes. Like it was just flowing, you know what I'm saying? Like I was just going because I had tried to do everything else. I tried, like we were stuck in the house at this time. This was during
Mm-hmm.
COVID. So couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything. And I had to sit with myself. And so nothing was seeming to work at the time. And I just picked up my pen and I just started writing, telling a story. And it's really just, I don't know, man, it's a blessing with how it all came out. I can't really take credit for it, but um,
Right.
I guess, but to answer your question, I did know I was gonna write a book. I just didn't think I would write it like the way that I did it. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought I was gonna
Yeah.
write crazy long autobiography or you know what I'm saying, this
The
crazy
life of
long
Roderick Byers.
book. Right. Like, oh, that's coming though. That's coming. Believe that. That's coming. But yeah, I always knew, but I didn't know it was gonna be like this.
Yeah. Because I was gonna ask, how do you feel like God got you ready for this new season that you're in or to come with your past season? But you kind of told us a little bit already that you already um kind of love to write. And the thing is, and I tell my students this all the time, like what we're really supposed to do is shows up as little kids. Like it shows up the things we play and say and dream about, like it shows up there. So I feel like you kind of answered it. But if you want to go into a little bit more details, I mean, just about how he got you ready.
I mean, I'm still getting ready, if I'm being
Mm-hmm.
honest. I'm
Yeah.
still I'm still at, you know what I'm saying, of certain things. And it's like this in this season of what I'm transitioning out of, if I'm being honest with you, um, it's not even that I was ever afraid of the success or afraid of it happening. I got so used to rejection. I got so used to being broken that it was comfortable. So I, it's almost like the success scared me because it was something new and unfamiliar. You know what I'm saying? So it
Mm-hmm.
made me uncomfortable. Like I wasn't even afraid of failure because I had felt like I'd done that so many times. You know what I'm saying? And then the whole thing about the success is I didn't feel worthy of it. And so I've had to really get deep into that. And it even goes deeper with like, I always think of the children of Israel, you know, when Moses was leading them out of captivity
Mm-hmm.
and God physically took them out, but mentally they were still there. And, you know, we always give them a hard time about like how, you know, had they trusted God, had they just been able to see it, then, you know, they would have reached the promised land. And it was only supposed to take them like 11 days, but it took them 40 years. But
Mm-hmm.
then I began to see myself in their situation. Like they had been in captivity for 400 years. They had trauma. They had very traumatic experiences. They had been beaten. They had been raped. They had got so used to this certain way of living. So how do you just go from being a slave to being free? So freedom, if I can sum it up, I did a lot of talking, but if I could sum it up, it's almost like freedom feels like dysfunction to me. This new space that I'm in, this success, these people wanting my book, the people celebrating me, the people like, oh man, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you really here, like, you really doing it, bro. This junk feels so uncomfortable and it's so dysfunctional, but some blessings are uncomfortable. And I'm having to, you know what I'm saying, understand that and be delivered in my mind that I won't hold on to the disappointment, because that's another thing that I do. And I know I'm doing a lot of talking, but this is going to help somebody.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, exactly. What you're saying, I'm glad that you're saying. So keep going. Yes.
Yeah. So like, even today, like I was crying today. Like I was crying today because I've made some decisions that I'm not proud of, right? Like in the past couple of days, I've done some things and I'm like, or I've said some things and I'm just like, yo, I gotta be better. But what God revealed to me was that I was still holding on to the disappointment. I was still taking that same thing with me. So like Moses was so the goal was to get them out of Egypt, but the real goal was to get Egypt out of them. And so that's been my situation now, where, you know, a lot of times we try to get out of the situation, but we really have to get the situation out of us, because it's all mental, you know what I'm saying, and understanding, so that I got to leave this so that I can make room for what's coming. You know what I'm saying? And so like, because I was so afraid to feel that same disappointment of when I tried, when I gave everything I had, and my NFL career was 2 days. When I tried and I gave everything I had and they told me no. You know what I'm saying? In other areas of my life, when I tried and I gave my best effort and people rejected it. And so now I'm in this space where it's like, I know that it's in my hands. Everything that I want is right in front of me, and God is willing to give it to me. And so now I have to make the decision of, am I going to hold on to that disappointment, or can I can I trust God? You know what I'm saying? Trust myself in high places, because that's another thing. Like, I wanted to go ahead and self-sabotage so that I wouldn't be disappointed again. So it's almost like, I'm not going to allow this to happen, because see, even in my story, and even knowing that everything has worked out for my good, I still want to associate rejection. I still want to associate pain. I still want to associate disappointment in it. And so I'm now in this space where I'm like, I'm not letting that happen again. So I'm just going to go ahead and mess it up. But it's like, no, like, prepare for it. Believe what, you know what I'm saying? Try God at his word. Like, no, stand on that. Like, believe that. And so I'm really having to tell myself, like, this is an ongoing, this ain't no what I done overcame. This is what I'm dealing with right now. Like, this is I'm in the trenches with it. Like, I'm in a whole full-fledged battle of being able to really believe and receive truly what God has for me, and not hold on to that disappointment. I'm
working with it. I'm working with it. No, because like, it's ministry to me as well, because I definitely understand being able just to receive, and that's just what it comes to, like living in a life of lack, or the mentality of lack, you know what I mean? And then it's just kind of like when you get something good, you know what I mean? Whether it's like a relationship or something, or a great opportunity, and you don't know how to receive it. So you do, like you say, the self-sabotage, because ultimately you feel like you're not worthy of it. Or maybe that person doesn't really feel the same way that you do. Or, you know, it could be anything. You know, those monsters that's in our head, that's trying to stop us from really getting like what the best that God has for us. But like you said, like, it's getting it out of us. That is like the major thing. Like, when we become better people and being able to talk through the things that hurt us, and just being real with ourselves, and then also speaking like you already have it, you know what I mean? Then it can change the ball game. And like, it's such a good like transition, because when I wrote Phoenix, I was just inspired. I was watching Oxygen one day, and I was watching this 2-part series of this girl who went missing, and nobody looked for her. But I felt like all the signs of brokenness was there before she vanished. Like, she made a selfie video, like basically a cry for help. She would say she couldn't remember the last time she was happy. So that brings me to, I know we talk about like trauma and, being depressed and anxiety. I feel like living in or surviving through a pandemic has made us more aware and maybe kind of made the Black community talk about it. But I feel like just kind of what we're talking about is so much more than just depression and anxiety. I feel like, I don't know. Tell me if you're wrong, but I feel like mental health can play with just fears, just all together, talking yourself out of things or talking yourself into this rut.
Yeah.
So how do you think it shows up in our everyday life? Like, if we exempt depression and anxiety, because it all plays a part, but
I think there's a lot of things that we are affected by subconsciously that we're not even aware of. You know what I'm saying? And things like going, like you mentioned, social media, going on social media and seeing everybody's highlight reel, like seeing what they want you to see and then comparing it to your life. And I think it's just so much. Like, even when you go back into family situations and the things that people have gone through and just how even like in a Black church, not for every Black church, but it was like mental health ain't real. Like, I got a lot of family members from certain generations that say, oh, mental health ain't real, or no, that's not, that's a cop out, or that's you're not being affected by that. It's just a spirit, you know what I'm saying? And you need to live, you don't want to live right, and things like that.
Right.
It's like where some people believe that you can't have God and a therapist. You can, you know what I'm saying? Like,
hello,
you should, you feel me? Like, so it's man, it affects us in everything that we do, like literally everything that we do. The way that we think, the way that we move, how we respond to things, all of that stuff is based on, our experiences and our perception. So it's mental health is real, and it affects every single part of our life. I'm a firm believer of that. I hope I answered your question, man.
Yeah, I definitely. No, you did, and I think just the overarching question, honestly, is just that we need to like normalize literally having a therapist. Like, it helps. Like, I literally, like, the girl that inspired my film, her name was Phoenix Holden, and I'm just thinking, like, what difference could it have made if she just had somebody to talk to? You know what I mean? Because we can't get in these ruts where we feel like we don't have anyone to talk to, or maybe we do have someone to talk to or we could vent to, but it's all about like what you're receiving in your intake. Like, I'm thankful that my best friend is she's like studying to be a therapist. So I feel like I kind of got a one up on everybody in the world. Honey, because I'll text her and I'll be like, therapeutic moment. I need a therapy moment, free of charge. Yeah. Seriously. So how do you think it? Go ahead. No,
I was just gonna add, that trauma and mental health and all of this stuff, it doesn't discriminate. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it don't matter how much money you got. It don't matter what status you have, or you know what I'm saying? Like, that stuff don't matter. Like, we all need effective help. And what I mean by effective is, so I'm real big on self-awareness and being real with myself and put myself in place. And I love to be corrected. And I'm a guy that people come to for answers all the time. So I feel like I got to give you solution. But I think there needs to be more listening, and more listening to understand, even if you can understand, but just genuinely listening, because sometimes the most effective help is just for me to listen. Like, I don't have to give you a solution. The help might be allowing you to just speak. You know what I'm saying? So like, when people think that, oh, I know what your issue is, I know what your problem is, or they assume like, oh, I know that I've been through more than that. That ain't affecting you like that. Like, you don't know how it's affecting somebody. You know what I mean? So we could go on about that. But I just feel like people should be more sensitive, and you know, and even if they don't understand, and still be sensitive to people's experiences, because there are some people who are experiencing things that you've never experienced. You know, we like to talk about people and what they did, but have no idea of what we would do had we been in that same situation. So, you know, I think it's just grace and understanding and being able to listen. But you can go ahead with your next question. I just wanted to add that